Hello everyone, thanks for tuning into a fourth Winter 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, it's time to bring you yet more winter data. We are now up to update number 4 of our winter updates, and it's going to be another complete and utter epic, and I can't wait to get all of it for you in a moment. We're going to begin with oceans data. More about that in a second, but just say if you're enjoying the content on the channel at the moment, please do like, share and subscribe. Make sure everybody for doing that. We released a 6 AM forecast a few hours ago, and we're going to be live at 5:30 this afternoon discussing this epic fourth winter update, doing a 10 to 14 dayer and having a look at some long range as well. So if you would like to check into a stream, got any questions, for example, then you can do so at 5:30. We'll be live from 5:30 to 6:30. I shall see you a little bit later on for that. Thank you so much, Richard, for the amazing winter updates gift. Thank you so much, Rich. Rich is on holiday, or has been on holiday, is back imminently. So I think next week, at the start of the 5th winter update, you're going to see the Swingo for the first time this year. The King of Swing will be swinging, won't you, Rich? Next week. Well, thanks to Richard for our amazing winter updates gear. Thanks to Shrine Bruin as well for all of the help on this epic 4th winter update. When we get to the parts of the video that Shrine has helped out with, then I shall give Shrine a nice little shout out. But thank you so much, hashtag Team Gav, Shrine and Rich. It's unbelievable and amazing. Thank you so much. Each of these winter updates are building up the picture forensically to winter forecast. The winter forecast is going to be on Sunday, the 1st of December this year. So we've already announced that. We've already got that penciled in. But I've got a lot to get through here. We're only up to update number 4. Although that is a quarter of the way through it, I suppose. But got a lot to get through before we have to worry too much about the winter forecast. Anyway, thank you so much everybody for tuning in. I'm having a lovely Sunday. And I reckon we're going to do it. Let's start off our 4th Winter 2024-25 update. Let's do this. We're going to start off in the oceans. Have a look at oceans data. So this is how the oceans were looking last week. We did last week's epic 3rd update. 4 interest areas, of course. We've got the ENSO region just here. We've got the Northern Pacific up here with a particular focus the Northeastern Pacific, got the Indian Ocean over there, and we've got the Atlantic Ocean over here. Right, well, let's have a look, see how things have developed over the past week. So, there we go. That's the latest as of the 19th of September. Let's deal with the ENSO region, the Equatorial Pacific Ocean. First of all, how is La Nina looking? Let's go back to last week. So I think we're seeing a strengthening of the La Nina signature through the central portion, but perhaps a weakening through the eastern portion. Let's have another look at the latest. So yeah, I think we've definitely seen the La Nina signature picking up through here, strengthened and developed a little bit over the past week. But at the same time, I think it has eased off the gas a little bit in the east portion. So this is possibly starting to become a central base La Nina. It possibly is. It's still a very weak La Nina, whichever area of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean that we look at. You know, it is still definitely what we would classify barely even making it to designated La Nina status, really, but you know, it is a very weak signature anyway. We have got cold now. We see the temperature at the top coast of South America, Chile, for example. So that is always, or very usually, a precursor to La Nina. So I think we're going to have a weak La Nina. You know, it's going to be a weak La Nina for the winter 2024-25. Now let's go northwards into more about La Nina in a moment. Let's go northwards into the Northern Pacific. So that's how the Northern Pacific was looking last week, particularly focused on the Northeast, of course. This is the latest. So not much change there, I don't think. Probably, you know, a little bit of cooling has taken place through here. Same time, a little bit of warming might have taken place through here. We don't have a definitive cold PDO signature at the moment, but we may get there. You know, we may get to a cold PDO signature later on through the autumn. We will have to keep monitoring that and see what happens. And then over in the Indian Ocean, so this is where we're looking now, over in the Indian Ocean, just there. No real change there at all, actually. This area relatively warm, this area a bit cooler. We established, I think it's update number 2, that the IOD is in a neutral phase, in ocean dipole is neutral, likely to stay neutral through this autumn, so it doesn't look as though the IOD should be a particularly big player either way. Now, if we go over to the Atlantic, again, that is how the Atlantic was looking last week, just here. That's where we're concentrating on now. This is how the Atlantic is looking this week. Not a huge amount of change through there. This area is probably warm, though, over the past week. It's very mysterious how the subtropical Atlantic, Caribbean, Gulf, Mexico, all was substantially above average sea surface temperature anomalies, yet the hurricane season just hasn't taken off at all. You know, just hasn't developed at all, really, has it, so far this season? So that is quite odd, you know, and quite strange. Going northwards, significantly warmer through here as well, albeit it might have cooled slightly compared to last week. So that's how it looked last week in that area. This is how it's looking this week. So I think it has cooled down a little bit through there, but, you know, still very significantly above average. And then going northwards, I reckon, so to the west of the UK and Ireland around here, that's areas have probably warmed a little bit over the past week, and maybe north into the Norwegian Sea, that area might have warmed a little bit as well. So various areas warming and cooling, but offsetting one another, really. So if you have a look at the 7-day change, so that's how the 7-day trend looks. So dealing with the ENSO region, first of all, most areas have cooled, and actually even in the eastern equatorial Pacific Ocean, some cooling has taken place there, so I'm perhaps wrong about that, but particularly for the central area, we have seen quite significant cooling as well, so that area has cooled. I think the La Nina has generally, you know, increased a little bit over the past week. In the northern Pacific, so this area has cooled a little bit over the past week, not greatly, while this area has warmed up. So that, of course, this sort of horseshoe shape here, that's what we're looking for to get the cold PDO going. So we want that area, for cold PDO, we want that area to continue to cool down. In the Indian Ocean, so warming has taken place here, a little bit cooling over here, nothing overly dramatic going on there. And in the North Atlantic, actually, quite significant development. So the tropical and subtropical Atlantic has warmed quite a lot over the past 7 days. So my analysis was right about that. Same time, this area has cooled down quite a lot over the past 7 days, albeit, though, because it was so exceptionally above average last week. You know, it's still above average, but it has cooled in that area by a good few degrees, actually. And to the west of the UK and Ireland, things have warmed up there as well. Those are shallower waters. It's been quite a warm week, of course. So due to the warmer weather, I suppose, you know, the shallower waters around the UK and Ireland have tended to warm a little bit. Cooling still taking place in the Norwegian Sea, quite interestingly, and to the south of Greenland, a little bit of warming through there. So if we take that at face value, like if this area is warming, this area is cooling, and like this area is warming, we don't look all that far away from a tripole. But of course, we've got to particularly cool things towards the eastern seaboard of America a lot over the next several weeks before we can start thinking about being anywhere close to tripole, because that, everybody, is not a tripole. That is just a generally warm Atlantic, such as we've had a lot over the past several years. At the end of this video, we're going to be comparing the sea surface temperature anomaly in the Atlantic from the 19th of September from the 19th of September 2024, going all the way back through the archives, see which years are closest to this year. So that will be coming up at the end of the video. The end of the fourth update will, end where it begins. Right, subsurface temperature anomalies. La Nina looks like it's gathering pace there as well. So this is from the CPC, NCP, and NOAA PDF. We've basically have to think like this is the surface of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean just here. We've got the Indian Ocean. No, we've not got the, what are we talking about? We've got Peru, haven't we? Yeah, we've got Peru just there. What am I doing? What are you doing, Gab? What are you doing? Getting my oceans mixed up again. We've got Peru just here. And what I was trying to say is we've got Indonesia over here, not the Indian Ocean, we've got Indonesia over there. Right, so Peru's in the east, Indonesia's in the west. And then along the surface, get your geography right, Gavin. Along the surface of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, you know, that's the surface. So these are the depths of the ocean, 50, 100, 150, 200 meters, etc. So you can see that the cold and average subsurface temperatures are gathering at depth here through the particularly the central portion of the Equatorial Pacific Ocean, actually, but does stretch out to the surface of the eastern portion as well. That looks like a relatively solid support for La Nina, I have to say. So the ocean is definitely there now. The ocean is primed and ready, both in terms of the surface. Ooh, there we go. Both in terms of the surface and in terms of the subsurface. The ocean is primed now for La Nina to properly bed in, to properly get going. The only question is, what's the atmosphere doing? Because recently the atmosphere has been fighting against the ocean. So if we have a look at the Southern Oscillation Index, remember this is an index that's reflecting the atmospheric state, it doesn't drive anything in its own terms, just tells what the atmosphere is doing. It's measuring air pressures between Tahiti and Darwin. So when the SOI is in its positive phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of La Nina, and when the SOI is in a negative phase, the atmospheric setup will be reflective of El Nino. So what's been going on over the past several weeks and months is that the atmosphere has been in a more El Nino type setup, which is fighting against what the ocean is trying to do. The ocean, the Pacific Ocean, wants to go to La Nina, and we'll establish that, you know, from the sea surface and subsurface temperatures just a second ago. The problem has always been that the atmosphere, you know, it has allowed it to happen to some degree, but it's for against it. And we see this through the SY number. So if we go back to the 12th of September, for example, these are our barometric pressure readings for Tahiti and Darwin Fair. And in this column, we've got the overall SY number. And on the 12th of September, we had a very negative SOI of minus 18.84. So that is an atmospheric setup that's strongly reflective of La Nina. And so we see negativity on the 13th and on the 14th and on the 15th and on the 16th and on the 17th of September. All those days, the atmospheric setup is reflective of El Nino, to some degree, anyway. Now, more recently, the last 4 days have been slightly more positive. So, the 18th of September goes to +1, the 19th of September goes to +8, 20th of September goes to +3, and the final day, 21st of September, goes to +1 again. So, slightly more towards La Nina there with the atmospheric setup, but to be honest, not convincingly so. And so to get the La Nina really bedded in and going, we have got to see the SOI shifting to a more positive phase, and to do it over a sustained period, I think. So this is how the 30 and 90-day averages are looking. So of course, we did see a while ago that the 30-day average went up here, went into quite strongly positive territory. Remember, the 30-day average will move around a lot more than the 90-day average, though. But we did see the SY going up into quite strongly positive territory, sort of early September-ish. It's coming down again now, though, reverting back to, you know, a more not necessarily negative, but a more neutral sort of territory. So, again, you know, it remains to be seen what's going to happen with this, and we need to see the SOI sustained over several weeks, really, in positive territory up here, and probably even higher than that. So at its highest, it just about got to plus 10, plus 11. As I say, it started coming down again a little bit now, actually. So it's not, you know, the SOI, the outside setup, is not in a sustained landing setup. While it's up and down like that, we're still going to struggle to get the landing going. So a weak landing is what I'm expecting, but it could in fact end up around like neutral in the end, you know, this end. So we may never actually get the landing year designated because there's quite strict criteria to get both landing year and landing year designated. So we're just going to wait and see how it goes. But it's a bit of a puzzle, you know, why this landing year hasn't really taken off. CFS is still going for it, albeit just a weak landing year. So at one point with CFS on Summer Plume was predicting would have like a super landing year down here. It's backed off from that a lot now, of course. You see from a black dash line. Temperature on the side, by the way, and dates in multi-period along the bottom. So you see from a black dash line, we're currently about there. We're struggling even to get into true landing year territory. CFS does get us there through the last quarter of the year, but only going down to 1 degree below average at the peak of this landing year, which is, you know, weak landing year territory. So to get a landing, you've got to be half a degree or more below average, and you've got to do that over 5 tri-monthly periods. So as I say, quite strict criteria. Whether this quite does that, this prediction here, I'm not sure actually. So we may get to landing year thresholds, you know, but we may not have an official landing year designated. It could be touch and go whether we do. What about some other forecast data? Well, this is how the ECMWF is looking in terms of its ENSO / landing year forecast. So half a degree would be about there. That's the all-important threshold. So I think most of the Ensemble Plume members from the ECMWF probably are going, you know, to about 1 degree below average. So in line with the CFS, really, ECM is predicting a weak landing year. This is how Meteo France, or always coming from Copernicus, by the way. So Meteo France, a little bit more convincing for landing year, I reckon, through the final quarter of the year. Again, the dates appears on the bottom. Oh, you know, getting close to about 1 degree below average, so between half a degree and 1 degree. So weak landing year predicted by Meteo France as well. DWD from Germany, really struggling actually with DWD, I think. So both 1 degree is fair, half a degree would be just there. So I suppose just about the DWD is getting there, but certainly at the very weak end of the of territory, you know, just half a degree or so at its peak. We've got the JMA just here. So the JMA a little bit more scattered. Actually, some Ensemble Plume members from the JMA by the end of the year are going for quite a moderate to borderline strong event. However, they are outliers. Most of the Ensemble Plume members from the JMA appear to be going again, sort of weak landing year, so about half degrees, just about getting to 1 degree below average, in line with what CFS is showing. And then finally, we've got the UK Met. The UK Met office looks like that. So a lot of scatters from the UK Met. The Women's Ensemble Plume members actually navigating to landing year threshold, but some Ensemble Plume members going for a strong landing year. They're outliers, of course. I think generally, again, we see the UK Met going for a weak landing year, but perhaps more weak to moderate. Again, that's 1 degree below average. Certainly more Ensemble Plume members are getting to around 1 degree below average. Some of them are getting to about 1.5 degrees below average, which is getting towards moderate territory. So, and of all of those bonds, the Met Office, UK Met, looks the most bullish for the landing year, really, and is getting it towards certainly weak territory, probably moderate. The other ensemble, the other models, I should say, with their Ensemble Plumes are much more towards a weak landing year at best, at most. So we should wait and see how it plays out. But most of them are getting to a landing year So I think we're going to have a landing year for the winter 2024-25. Whether it lasts for 5 tri-monthly periods, so it is a very late starter. So whether it runs through the full 5 monthly periods and gets designated, that is an open question, and we'll have to wait and see. Right, well, chat on for 20 minutes. Been interesting so far. Hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Have a little break there. You can go off and stretch your legs. And when we come back, we're going to be looking at what's going on with hurricane season. Hint, not much. But anyway, more about that in a moment. See you in 2 seconds. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the 4th Winter 2024-25 update from GavsWeatherVids. If you enjoyed what you've seen so far, please like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much for doing that. Don't forget to tell friends and family about the work that we do at GavsWeatherVids. This is unique content. You can't see this in-depth level of analysis anywhere else online. So, you know, if this is the kind of thing that you and people you know enjoy, then please tell them, tell your friends, tell your family about what we're doing here at GavsWeatherVids. And thanks so much everyone for doing that. Thanks so much Richard for our amazing winter updates gift. And let's carry on then, shall we? So, as I said before the break, we're going to have a look at the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season. So, this is the 2024 Atlantic hurricane season page from Wikipedia. These are how the scores on the doors are currently looking. So we have had a total for this season so far of 7 tropical depressions, 7 tropical storms, 4 hurricanes, and 1 major Category 3 or above hurricane. Of course, that occurred right at the very beginning of the season. Bizarrely. So they're relatively modest numbers. Let's have a look and see how ACE is doing. Accumulated cyclone energy. ACE Master Shrine has got this together for us. So ACE, of course, is measuring the amount of energy each of these individual storms is giving out, and then creating an overall, you know, number for the entire season. And the classifications for the season are below normal, near normal, above average hyperactivity. We can go all the way back to 1851 with this, but we won't. We'll go down to 2024. And this, excuse me, is how our ACE is looking. So we're currently at 61.00, so at 61 for our ACE after 7 tropical storms, 4 hurricanes, and 1 major Category 3 or above hurricane. Both numbers unchanged on last week, by the way. For the running average up to the 21st of September to be about average, near normal, would be 81.10. So that would be after 10 tropical storms, 5 hurricanes, and 2 major Category 3 or above hurricanes. So we are down on all of the numbers. We're down on the numbers of storms, hurricanes, and majors, and we're down as a result on the on ACE as well, on accumulated cyclone energy. So at the moment, this is turning into a below average season. Now we will see whether that continues or not over the next few weeks, but at the moment this hurricane season is well and truly stalled, and of course this will be peak season now normally, so we shall see where it all ends up and what's going to happen. But maybe we've got to start thinking about having a below normal season. And the last time I had one of those, by the way, was in 2015. Just see, that's the last time I had a below normal season. Now, it's been a while, and we are due a below normal season. Will this be the one that does that? I think we'll probably still end up about average, but I think I'll struggle to get above normal, or certainly not get hyperactive, which is what I was predicting. So we'll see what happens with that anyway. Thanks to the Ace Master Shrine for keeping us updated on what's going on with ACE. Okay, just to confirm again that Wesley QBO continues. We are in the Wesley phase of quasi oscillation, descended from the stratosphere down into the troposphere there. We don't need to talk about that anymore for the time being, but this will be a solid westerly GWV Winter for winter of 2024-25. Arctic oscillation is in a very negative phase. This is how the AO observed and forecast is currently looking. The black line shows where we've been with the Arctic oscillation. Red lines of the GFS on SOLS forecasting Arctic oscillation to go. So at the moment we're down here. We're very negative with the AO, telling us that there must be a really considerable amount of normal blocking over the Arctic and over the North Pole. Despite that, we're actually, for the UK, Western Europe, actually quite warm, which is what I always say. Just because you've got blocking doesn't necessarily mean any one particular place is going to get cold from it. It depends where the blocking is sitting. But we must be seeing, really quite high levels of northern blocking there for the AO to be in such a negative territory. Remember, it's always the index that's driving. It's always weather that's driving the index. So if the AO goes negative, it's because of the blocking that's forcing that to happen. At the same time, the NAO is predicted to go very negative as well. So we're currently just here with black line. We're already negative with the NAO. And we're going to go even more negative over the next week as well. So the AO and the NAO both in very negative territory. We are going to get a push of northerly winds coming up later next week as well. That will be as a result of the AO and the NAO being such negative territory. We see that the NAO is being forecast to come back up closer to neutral, but still negative actually, as we get into early October. And by the way, the AO is forecast to go weekly positive into the beginning of October. A slow old struggle. This is the extended forecast that we're including in this season of winter updates. This is from Kyle M. Critchie. Though you can see the AO forecast is still showing very negative Arctic oscillation conditions take place through the next week or so. They're coming back up to be weekly positive into the beginning of October, going negative again as we go through October and into November as well. So it does look as though, I mean, you will get like deviations that last a few days, and it looks like the CFS is seeing one of those deviations just here sometime around the beginning of October. But overall, it does look as though we could well have entered into a long-term negative phase with the Arctic oscillation after being, in a long-term positive phase through most of the summer. Looks like the autumn and possibly into the winter as well. We get to 90% with this forecast, possibly into winter. We are into a rather long-term negative phase of the AO, which tells us there would likely be quite large amounts of northern blocking through the course of this autumn. Won't necessarily last into winter. As far as the NAO is concerned, again, we see the plunge in the NAO that's going to be taking place over next week through here. Then the NAO again positive into October as well, if the long-term prediction is correct. Hovering on the weak side of neutral then, or on the negative side of neutral, I should say, through the second half of October into November. And then forecast to go rather weakly positive as we move out into the beginning of December, typically. So that would tell us into the beginning of December, the CFS is starting to pick up, maybe on a strengthening of the zonal westerly flow. But at the same time, that would be while the AO boat still is rather negative. So we would have the AO and the NAO in going opposite directions there. But it's a very, very long way out that. It's based on the CFS. Remember, CFS is very much subject to change. So we will be keeping close eye on those extended long-term AO and NAO forecasts over the next few weeks through the remainder of the winter updates. Going up to the stratospheric level, we can see from a JMA that the temperature at 10 HPA is currently bang on average with the grade line just here over the North Pole. We go down to 30 HPA. We can see that the temperature at 30 HPA is also bang on where you'd expect it to be at this point in the season. Very early on, of course, in terms of cooling down the stratosphere. This time, the GFS is forecasting stratospheric temperatures to develop over the next couple of weeks. So remember, this blue area is basically the polar vortex at its roots in the stratosphere. That's the colder than average temperatures, in the cold temperatures around minus 50, minus 55 in the stratosphere. Right, well, run through, and we should be seeing the blue area expanding and getting more intense as well. So we start to see some darker blue turning up around Greenland. Otherwise, just a general sort of expansion, as you'd expect, of the polar vortex at its roots in the next week or so. Into the extended range, then the deeper blues start appearing a little bit more convincingly. Slightly displaced over towards the Atlantic and European side of the Arctic and the North Pole. But by 7th of October, looks like the polar vortex is well and truly formed. There, say, slightly displaced from the top of the North Pole itself, but, you know, nothing particularly out of the ordinary about that. I don't think. And down to about minus 60 by the time we get through to the 7th of October, which I think, if we go back here, by the time we get into October, we've got to go to back to 10 HPA. So minus 60 by the time we get into October, that would be exactly where you would expect it to be. You know, so nothing particularly exciting going on stratosphere-wise at the moment. Go even further out beyond the stratosphere into space. Have a look at solar disks on our side of this day. On solarham.net, we have got various sunspot regions, but despite that, solar activity is actually at low levels at the moment, and it's expected to go to moderate levels potentially though over the next 3 days. This is how the GavsWeatherVids solar activity tracker is looking, sent through by Shrine Brew. Thanks to Shrine for staying mystery, keeper of the solar tracker. So the orange line, orange spots are depicting each individual day's worth of sunspot activity, because we had our peak so far for the 2025 hurricane season just here. Those orange spots reaching that high level just there, back earlier in the summer. Over the past couple of months, we've actually been seeing solar activity coming down, certainly in terms of daily sunspot numbers anyway. So at the moment, our daily sunspot count is down here, and we do see that the thick blue and thick green lines, shall be 60-day and 30-day averages respectively, are coming down as well. The green line, of course, the 30-day average moves a lot more, so that's coming down more than the 60-day average, but both of them are in a downward trend. So at the moment, the solar maximum, because we are around solar maximum, we are at solar maximum really now. So at the moment, the solar maximum has kind of eased off the gas a little bit. It's possible this will be our first peak of the solar cycle 25 just here. It may be the peak of the solar cycle as well. You never quite know if the first peak or the second peak will be, you know, the peak of the cycle. That might be the peak of this solar cycle. We are likely, I think, to get a second peak, though, coming up after we ease things back a little bit. So that could happen next year. Though at the moment, you know, it kind of eased off the gas slightly of the solar maximum, but there is still a lot more to come. The solar cycle 25, of course, there is. Arctic sea ice and Eurasian snow cover, and that's been pretty good bit so far, hasn't it? I hope you've enjoyed it, everybody. Eurasian snow cover and Arctic sea ice next. So last week, of course, we established that we had reached the Arctic sea ice minimum for this season, and so up here, this is like what's left of Arctic sea ice, that yellow area just there. The refreeze is starting to get going now, and eventually all of this area will fill back in, of course, with Arctic sea ice. But this is how things look in terms of Eurasian snow cover last week. We did have some white patches, as we said last week. This is the latest. So we have had some gains in terms of Eurasian snow cover through the northern and northeastern portion of Siberia over the past week, particularly through here, but also around here as well. Pretty modest gains, I think it's fair to say. Nothing overly dramatic. But we have seen an increase in snow cover there in the far eastern and northeastern portion of Russia and Siberia. Eventually, as I keep saying, all of this area, it's hard to believe it now, isn't it? With just that amount of snow, but eventually all of this is going to fill up with snow and back in towards Europe. We monitor that week by week to see how quickly that happens. Next week, we're going to do our third comparison. So, of course, we've been doing like weekly comparisons for the past 4 updates now. But next week, we will start comparing how the Eurasian snow cover season for this year, how that compares to all of the years going back through the archive. So that's something we do every season of Winter Updates. It's a fan favourite, and that will be, you'll be seeing that next week. Right, we're having a little break there, and when we come back, we're going to have a look at some analogues, I think. Haven't looked at any analogues so far for this winter update, but analogues data to come. Don't go anywhere, and I shall see you in 2 seconds' time. See you soon, everyone. Okay, we're back and we're ready to resume the epic 4th Winter 2024-25 updates from GavsWeatherVids. If you enjoyed what you've seen so far, please like, share, subscribe, share this across social media, share it as far and wide as you can. We like to get large viewing figures for these winter updates as it is unique content. So thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. And, if you want to, you can consider becoming a channel member for GavsWeatherVids to help us support the channel. That will mean that you pay £4.99 a month for extra content. You get a once-a-month live stream and get exclusive access to the winter, it will be the winter 25-26 NEO forecast next summer, as well as potentially other early access to other videos. You can also give a donation through PayPal as well. Donate whatever amount you want. You find the link to our PayPal page in the description with this video. You can super thanks to flag up your comment in the comments with this video, and you can also super chat on the live streams as well. Thank you so much, everybody, for support. It does help me to be able to sit here and do this for everybody. So I thank you so much for the support. How you support me and my channel. Just thank you so much. Thank you so much to Richard for amazing winter updates gift. Let's crack on. We're going to have a look at some analogues now. So we're looking at summer to winter data this week and next week as well. We will be doing that. So starting with the CT though for this week. So June came in with CT at 14 degrees, July at 16 degrees, and August at 17 degrees. August was the warmest month of the summer, of course, this year, which means that our CT range for our set of analogues is going to be 15.5 to 16 degrees, 15.5 to 16.0. That places the summer of 2024 for the CT nicely slap bang in the middle of that range. Thank you so much for trying to sorting out these years. Right, let's get through these as quickly as we can then. So we start off with winter of 1950-1951. That follows the summer again with a CT range of 15.5 16 degrees. This was very unsettled winter. Has a really cold December and almost a December to remember, not quite reaching that level of severity, but it was a pretty cold and snowy December. We had 1950. After that, the rest of winter got milder and also a lot wetter as well. Overall, a very unsettled winter with a deep trough of low pressure right away over the west of Europe. We've got 1952-1953. This was quite a coldish winter with high pressure out to the west and low pressure, if we change the colour, to the south and east. Winds regularly coming in from the northeast direction. Quite a few cold snaps coming through with that one. We've got 1957-1958. This one, hold on. So sorry, when this one starts off mild but gets cold later, overall it has a trough of low pressure to the east. It has a ridge out to the Atlantic, and we're bringing in a wind from the north then with 57-58. Gets cold through February and into March. It does have a mild December. 1969-1970 is also a late starter, really. So December 1969, relatively mild-ish, as was early January. It gets colder though as winter goes on. The coldest spell of winter actually occurs at the end of February and into March. Overall, it has high pressure in the Atlantic, low pressure south and east, winds coming in from the northeast. Tremendous snowstorms in early March of 1970. 1970-1971 is up next, following summer CT range of 15.5, 16 degrees. This one, again, with high pressure over to the north, actually low pressure down to the south, winds in from the east. Was an easterly December, I think, in 1970, especially around Christmas. Actually was a white Christmas in 1970. The rest of the winter, though, was relatively mild. And they've got 73, 74, talking mild winters. This is a mild and wet winter. Plenty of low pressure coming in from off the Atlantic, so that's just like a mild, wet and windy winter. Going to 1980, you've got 1982, 1983. But it's one of those analogues that doesn't tell you a huge amount about the winter overall. It has low pressure to the north and high pressure to the west-southwest. Winds in from the Atlantic from the west. Was generally a mild start to the winter. So again, another late starting winter actually this one. Was generally mild and mild through the early part of the winter. Very stormy around Christmas and New Year, I think, of 82, 83. But it gets much colder later. In February of 1983, you know, it's quite a cold and snowy spell of weather. And the spring of 1983, interestingly, very cold as well. We've got 92, 93 next. This is a mild and dry winter, another winter to forget from the early 1990s. We'll move on from that pretty quickly. They've got 96, 97. Again, this is one of those analogues. Doesn't tell you a huge amount about the winter overall, with high pressure generally through the northern and central part of Europe, low pressure out to the west. The thing with this winter is that actually this was like a front-loaded winter, so most of the winters we've seen so far, the ones that were colder late. So this is cold early. So December is quite a cold month, especially around Christmas, New Year, and into the first couple of weeks of January. Bitterly cold, actually, severely cold even, I would say, around the New Year of 96, 97. Later into January gets mild, has a very mild, wet and windy February in 1997, early spring. 2000, 2001 is just like a 1990s mild winter, with low pressure to the north, high pressure to the south. Does have a few cold snaps here and there, but overall that's a pretty mild winter. 2000, 1999, 2000. 2000, 2001 is a little bit more interesting, with high pressure away to the north, low pressure down to south. That's a slightly colder winter. Not classic by any means, but does have some colder weather, especially so for Scotland, actually. It's quite a cold and snowy winter for Scotland, with winds regularly coming in from the east. For England and Wales, it's a rather milder winter, also quite a wet winter as well. Follows the phenomenally wet autumn of 2000, of course. Then we've got 2002, 2003. This looks like it should be a cold winter, but it was not. High pressure just here, and you'll think winds coming in from the east, but there wasn't anything all that interesting going on in that winter. But it did have a few cold snaps in January, in particular, of 2003. Then we go on to 2008, 2009, following summer CT of 15.5, 16 degrees. This is the first of a run of colder winters from 08, 09 to 12, 13. There's a run of cold winters. Our last run of cold winters actually was 08, 09, 12, 13. This is the first of them. High pressure towards Scandinavia and to the north of Scotland, and low pressure is across southern Europe, winds in from the east. So very on-off with the cold, wasn't continuously cold, but did have a very snowy spell in early February of 2009. Then we've got 2009, 2010. So we've actually got the second of the series of colder winters. This one much more definitively cold, with a strong northern blocking signal up towards Greenland, and low pressure then is with a jet stream going into southern parts of Europe. Winds much more straightforwardly in from the east. That was a consistently cold winter, and very, very cold from the middle of February, from the middle of December, I should say, to the middle of January. That's like the peak of that winter, and that 4 weeks was actually exceptionally cold at times. And overall, the winter of 09-10 was the coldest winter since 1979, can you believe? And for Scotland, the coldest winter since Daddy since 1963. And then, how interesting, we've got the third of the series of the cold winters, which was 2010, 2011. So we've got 08, 09, 09, 10, and 10, 11. It's, of course, the December to remember, with blocking around Greenland, low pressure down to the south and winds in from the east. So this is like the ultimate front-loaded winter. Talked a lot about back-loaded winters that get cold late through these analogues, but this one is like the ultimate front-loaded winter. It has the coldest December since 1890, almost the coldest December for the entire CT index, all the way back to 1659, making it the December to remember, really. Very, very snowy and severely cold month until just after Christmas, when the cold relents, and then into January, and particularly into February, starts getting mild. It does actually have a very mild February for 2011. But how interesting, we've got 08, 09, 09, 10, and 10, 11, all following summers with a CT of 15.5 to 16 degrees. Right, well, let's put all that together. Let me show all December's combined looking, following that CT range. It's a pretty epic analogue, probably down to the December to remember being included, but, you know, there will be years that are deviating with that, such as 7973, which I think was generally quite a mild December, and also 1957 was a mild December as well. But overall, you know, putting all the years together, we do see a northern blocking signal, we see a mid-Atlantic ridge going up towards Greenland, and we see quite a strong trough of low pressure across Europe, winds in from the northeast with a lot of those December. So overall, cold December is favoured there. Blimey. Well, this is how all January's combined are looking. Notice the blocking signal reduces quite a lot into the Januaries, but could still have cold potential anyway. The trough of low pressure is quite a long way south into the Atlantic. So there will be some Januaries that are quite mild, but there will also be some Januaries within the pack that are pretty cold as well. For example, 2010. And then all February, actually, and interestingly, the blocking signal comes back then. And that would be down, I suppose, more to the backloaded winters, and particularly those, you know, through the 1950s and the 1960s and whatnot. So the blocking signal actually returns stronger into the Februaries around Greenland and into the North Atlantic, with a trough of low pressure tending to be to our south and east, and winds often coming in from an easterly direction. Again, there'll be years that deviate. 1997 was a very mild, wet and windy February, for example. But overall, if you want a cold winter, that's a pretty decent analogues package. And this is how all winters combined are looking, following summers with a CT range. So, sorry again, everyone, with a CT range of 15.5, 16 degrees. So, yes, we do see the low pressure to the south, the high pressure blocking in the North Atlantic going up towards Greenland, and winds in from the east to the northeast, with a lot of those winters, not all of them, but with quite a lot of them. So overall, perhaps a cold winter favour with that summer CET range. We're going to have a look next week at England Wales precipitation. So you'll see that probably is the first thing we look at the beginning of next week's 5th winter update. Well, the first thing actually will be the swingometer event, probably after that. Thanks so much for trying to get all those years together. We've just got one last thing to do, which is go through the sea surface temperature anomaly archive. More about that in a second. I'll pause the video there, and when we return, we'll do that, and then that will be it for this epic 4th winter update. See you soon, everyone. Okay, we're back and ready to resume the 4th winter 2024-25 update. Thank you so much, everybody. It's been a long update, so thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with me. We've got one last thing to show you, which is the archive of sea surface temperature anomalies. We're focusing on the Atlantic. I won't talk about anything else. Let's just get on with this, shall we? So we're focusing on the Atlantic. So with this, please try and ignore everything from here to here. I know you can't, but, you know, we're focusing on the North Atlantic over there. Right, so we're trying to pick out the years that are closest to the current sea surface temperature anomalies in the North Atlantic for the first time this season. So keep that in mind, and we're going to go through the archive right now. So that's 2023. How we compare to 2023? I think we're a little bit cooler with the Atlantic sea surface temperature this year compared to 2023. It was warmer last year. 2022, again, you see a very warm North Atlantic. Probably, well, I think the tropics probably warm warmer, but the Northern Atlantic probably a little bit cooler this year. That's 2019. How are we comparing with that year? I reckon we're slightly cooler this in 2019, 2021 I should say, back 2021, and I reckon we are slightly cooler in 2021 compared to this year. That's 2020, and we're cooler in 2020 compared to this year as well. That is 2019. How are we looking compared to 2019? Yeah, we're cooler in 2019 compared to this year. That's 2018, quite substantially cooler in 2018 compared to this year. That is 2017. How are we looking there? Again, we're cooler in 2017 compared to this year. No real comparison. That's 2016, substantially cooler in 2016 compared to this year. No comparison. That's 2015, and we're much warmer this year compared to 2015. That's for cold blood, of course. We thought that was the start of the cold AMO, didn't we? Or I did back then, but it turned out it absolutely was not. Well, that's 2014. Again, you know, significantly cooler sea surface temperature on the Atlantic this year compared to 2014. That is 2013. No comparison this year, 2013. So the South China Atlantic is in a very, very unusual state again this year, albeit perhaps not quite as unusual as it was last year, when in 2022, but it is certainly still in a very unusual state. That is 2012. How are we comparing with that year? That might be one of the years that we are closer to, but we would have to see this area just here cooling a little bit. That area has cooled a bit over the past week, and if past few weeks, if that continued, then 2012 will possibly be one of the years that we're closest to. But overall, significantly more this year compared to 2012. That's 2011, no comparison. That's 2010, classic tripole in 2010. Warm over cool over warm. Not much comparison at the moment this year. Again, if we was to cool this area down just here, then we might be able to start thinking about comparing to 2010, but at the moment we cannot. Right, let's carry on. 2009, no comparison whatsoever to set up in the Atlantic in 2009, much warmer this year, and also a lot warmer in 2008 as well. 2007, no comparison. 2006, again, not much of a comparison there, I don't think. 2005, we do see a tripole, but significantly more this year compared to 2005. That's 2004, again, no comparison. 2003, 2002, 2001, 2000. Look how much cooler the Atlantic, well, not just the Atlantic, but all the oceans were in 2000. So again, no comparison in the North Atlantic setup this year. Right, 1999. How do we compare that? Yeah, again, no comparison. Much cooler in the Atlantic in 1999, 1998. Again, not much of a comparison. 1997, 1996, 1995, 1994. We're going back towards the last cold AMO, Atlantic Multi-Decadal Oscillation period now. So 1994, much colder in the Atlantic, and 1993, similar as well. Look how much colder the Atlantic was in 1992. Some of that might have been down to the eruption of Mount Pinatubo, but nevertheless, much, much colder in the Atlantic back in the last cold AMO phase compared to what we see right now. Unbelievable the difference, really, isn't it? That's 1991, that's 1990, which for the time in 1990, that was actually quite a warm Atlantic sea surface temperature anomaly, but absolutely blown away, blown to smithereens by 2024, 19th of September. And then that's 1989, we're firmly into the last cold AMO period now. 1998, 1987, 1986, look at how much colder the Atlantic is in 1986, and finally 1985, absolutely no comparison to the current setup. So what are the closest years? Well, in terms of the overall profile, maybe, I don't know, maybe 2012, but in terms of the actual temperatures of the Atlantic, I think the only years that really are in comparison to this year would be last year, 2023, when actually the Atlantic was in an even warmer phase it is right now, and probably 2022 as well. But yeah, the Atlantic still overall in a very warm usually an abnormally warm phase, despite the fact that it has cooled a little bit compared to where it was last year. We'll continue to monitor that. We will do another comparison later on in the seasonal winter updates, probably in November, and we'll see how things have progressed through the autumn. Well, that brings us to the end. Let me know in the comments which years you think are closest to this year, by the way. Thanks so much everyone for doing that. And that brings us to the end of the fall winter update. Slightly longer this one, but still under an hour. Nice and solidly under an hour at 53 minutes, so that's not too bad. Right, if you enjoyed the fall winter update, please like, share, subscribe. Thanks so much for doing that. Thanks so much to Richard for the gift. You can see the swingometer. First thing you'll see next week will be the swingometer. So you'll find out how these fourth updates, you know, have they favoured a cold winter, have they favoured a mild winter, which way is it going to go? The swingometer return to the King of Swing next week. So thanks to Richard anyway for the gift, and thanks to Shryan for all of the help on this update. Hashtag Team Gav, an amazing job as always. We will end it there. Going to be live at 5:30. So if you've got any questions about this winter update, let me know on the live stream. But for the fall winter 2024-25 update at 54 minutes, that's all for now. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next week with the next installment. Bye for now.